In a matter of just 90 seconds, a young girl would vanish off the face of the earth. Hello, true crimerers. This is the case of Mikelle Biggs. Viewer discretion is advised. Real quick before we get started, of course, hello, my name is Mike. I am the Making a True Crimerer guy. Yeah, I tell 3 true crime stories a week here on YouTube. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. I also post daily true crime videos over on TikTok, where I have about 3 million followers, so please feel free to follow me over there as well. It'll be linked up here towards the beginning of the video and at the end. It's also always linked in the descriptions of my videos below. I also have my Discord server in there where you can join it but be over the age of 18 or you'll be kicked out. We sell merch, which yes, we do ship all over the world, so feel free to purchase some if you like. And then lastly, if there's a case you want me to cover, just email me at makingatruecrimerertwo.com. That will always be listed below as well. Just email me the name of the person, where it happened, when it happened. I'll add it to my list. Bada boom. I don't know when I'll cover it because I pick my cases at random. There's a whole bunch of names on there. Yada, yada. Shut up, Mike, and get into it. You got it. I'm also I'm kind of unstable. Anyway, let's get into today's case. Mikelle Diane Biggs was born on May 31st, 1987. And she was actually born in Texas, but at a certain point, her family would move to Arizona, specifically the city of Mesa. Pretty close to where I am located, actually. Mikelle was one of, I believe, 4 kids. She had 2 sisters who were younger than her, and then she had a younger brother. So I think she was the oldest of the group. Mikelle, who was only 11 years old at the time of this case, was described as a very, very intelligent young girl, especially for her young age. She seemed to catch on to things really, really quick. She was super artistic. She loved art. And as a matter of fact, her dream was to become an animator specifically for Disney. She loved Disney movies, and that's something that drew her interest, and she really was hoping that one day she would be able to get to do that. Maybe even work for Disney, who knows? She was an honor roll student at school. She got pretty much all perfect grades. She was extremely sociable. She was friendly. She was outgoing. And she also loved music. In particular, she loved to play the clarinet. And so she had even for such a young age, she had all these things that she was fully capable of doing. And so you can kind of tell, sounds like that she was going to be someone big, someone, well-known. But sadly, she would become well-known for something far more tragic. It was January 2nd, 1999, and this was in Mesa, Arizona. It was a chilly day here in Arizona. January, it's probably our coldest time of year, but, can still stay pretty warm pretty much the entire year. But so anyway, Mikelle and her sister Kimber were out riding their bikes, and they were just basically going up and down the road that the Biggs family lived on. That's when they heard the sound of the ice cream truck, and it was going around the neighborhood. And so they were like, yeah, sweet. Like every kid, especially in the 90s, when you heard that song, you're just like, oh my God, it's time to get ice cream. So every kid in the neighborhood will run back to their house, ask their parents for change or whatever they need to do. And then they would run back to the ice cream truck. So at the time that they were riding the bikes, they already had the ice cream money on them, but Kimber was feeling cold. And so she said, hey, I'm going to go run back into the house real quick. I'm going to go get my jacket and then just stay outside the house. She was saying that to Mikelle, and, she'd be right back, and they would go get back on their bikes and go to the ice cream truck. Kimber goes into the house. She is in there for approximately 90 seconds. When she goes into the house, Mikelle is outside with her bike. Kimber had absolutely no idea that when she went back into the house, that would be the last time she would ever see her sister. Because approximately 90 seconds later, she goes outside the house and Mikelle is no longer there. So she walks to the front of the driveway. She looks one way, doesn't see anything or anyone. She looks down the other way, doesn't see anything or anyone. She's screaming, Mikelle, where are you? Screaming for her. She gets no response. Then she kind of takes another look down the road and she thinks she sees a bike. And so she walks down to the bike, and it's a pink bike, and the tire is literally still spinning, and it's on its side. The bike's on its side, and the tire is still going. But Mikelle is nowhere to be found. And so she calls out Mikelle's name again, gets no response. And there's nobody else around. The ice cream truck, I think, must have been somewhere farther down the road at that point. But the only thing Kimber actually cared about, though, is where is my sister? This looked as if someone had just literally taken Mikelle off of her bike as she was in the middle of riding it. The bike falls over, tires are still spinning. Mikelle is probably put into a car, and the car speeds away. It looked like she had been kidnapped. So Kimber rushes back into the house. She says, "Mom, Mikelle is gone. I still have the bike. I don't know where she is." And so, Mom panics and Dad panics, and everyone goes out and they're searching the neighborhood. All the people in the neighborhood come out of their houses. They're all searching and looking for Mikelle. But after they search the neighborhood, they don't find any signs of her. And so they call police and they report her missing. Police canvassed the entire neighborhood. And unbelievably, they found not one single witness to what happened. No one saw anything. No one heard anything. You have to think that if Mikelle was just snatched off her bike in a quick moment, she would have screamed or something, unless the person grabbed her by the mouth or whatever. Maybe that's a possibility, but no one heard anything regardless. No one heard a struggle. No one heard the bike fall over. Nothing. Usually in cases like this, you have at least one person who thinks they may have seen something, but they could not find anyone. No witnesses. So the police first look at Mikelle's dad, Darian Biggs. I think it was really just like a protocol thing, but the police were able to very, very quickly rule him out, that he could not have done anything to her. First of all, he was basically there at home, and Mikelle was not. So, there was just no way he could have done anything to her. They, of course, questioned the mom. The mom obviously is cleared. She was also home and not anywhere near where she would have been kidnapped. Now, they also had a neighbor named D. Blaylock. And apparently he became on police radar because people in the neighborhood would basically say that D was an odd duck, a little strange, maybe a little scary. And so it was one of those things where people just sort of kind of looked at him and said, yeah, he looks like someone who would have done this. So police would ask him some questions, and they determined that he was in his house with his mom or a family member watching a football game. That's about as close as they can get to confirming his alibi, but that's not exactly the most solid alibi. So they kind of have to put him to the side. And then they really didn't have any other suspects. They were interested in this ice cream man who was driving around the neighborhood. Maybe he did something, or at the very least, maybe he saw something. They found out who that driver was. They were able to clear him. They would then go to all of the ice cream trucks basically in that area, in that community, and who drives those ice cream trucks just in case, and they were able to basically rule out all of them. There was no physical evidence left behind. There weren't any fingerprints on the bike that Mikelle was on. There was no, trace of blood or hair, or they didn't really have any tire impressions. The tire didn't squeal away and leave an impression. There was nothing. This is one of those cases where the only thing they can do is rely on people, because they can't rely on science because there's nothing to test. No prints, no DNA, nothing. It's probably one of the worst case scenarios for a situation like this, when you have nothing to basically jumpstart your investigation forensically. It's crazy. So a couple of years goes by, Mikelle is still missing. They continue to search for her. They have searchers out this is Mesa in 1999. It was a lot of desert. There was a lot of just, rough terrain. Not a lot of places to necessarily hide a body, but they still try anyway. They keep searching and searching, and they look under every nook and cranny, every rock, every bush, every tree, even though we don't really have many of those here in Arizona. We don't have a lot of greenery here. They once again, after a couple of years, they question people from the neighborhood, as many people as they can track down. They get nowhere, once again. They then find out that man, D. Blaylock, was actually, I think after Mikelle's case, he was arrested and charged with basically sexual assault and child molestation. And he had been charged with kidnapping. This is a completely unrelated case. And he was convicted of like various crimes. And so that kind of put him a little higher up now, again, on the maybe this guy could have done something to her. But without any physical evidence and without any witnesses, it's really difficult to pin this on someone. And also, you don't have Mikelle. She is still out there somewhere. Now we're fast forwarding all the way to March 4th, 2018. Wisconsin police, so we're far away now, they are given an envelope that contained a single $1 bill in it. The man who brought it in said he found this dollar and it had a very peculiar message written on it. The dollar bill on the left-hand side and then going up to the top of it, it said, quote, "My name is Mikelle Biggs, kidnapped from Mesa. I'm alive." And the writing looked like it could belong possibly to a younger person. So then Wisconsin police get in contact with the police in Mesa, Arizona. They say, hey, we have this. So they send it to them. And the Mesa police will show that dollar bill to the family. And her mom would basically almost immediately say, that's not Mikelle's writing. That's not her handwriting. And also the name Mikelle is spelled wrong. Now, let's just say that this was Mikelle who wrote that. It's possible that maybe under stress or duress or something, she hastily was writing this on whatever she could find and she just, without thinking, accidentally misspelled her name. So it's possible. But her mom would say, like, she was pretty confident that the handwriting wasn't hers. I don't know if they've done specific handwriting tests to determine whether or not it is her writing or not. I don't know. But ultimately, police and the family believe that this dollar bill with this message on it was more than likely a hoax, that it was someone messing with the family, that someone was trying to give false hope to this family who has a missing child, and she's been missing for basically a couple of decades at that point. So police were basically back to square one again. Now, over the years, they have had possible tips or possible breakthroughs that would end up leading to almost pretty much nothing. There was one point where someone discovered like a shallow grave. Someone had reported it because this was in Mesa, Arizona, and someone said, well, that's kind of strange. Police go to investigate it, and ultimately that shallow grave was dug, but when they kind of unearthed everything, there was really nothing inside of it. They had received a tip that someone had seen a copper-colored truck driving around the neighborhood sometime around Mikelle's disappearance and a possible kidnapping. And police, it took a long time, but they were able to find that copper-colored vehicle and its owner. They dug into that individual and they were able to clear them of having any responsibility for whatever happened to Mikelle. Over the years, police would get either search warrants to search like homes in that neighborhood surrounding the Biggs home. Or there were some homeowners who were like, absolutely, yep, you can search our home. After all of these searches, they found no evidence, nothing to do with any connection to Mikelle. One homeowner, apparently, they weren't able to get a warrant to search their home and they refused to have police search their home, but police still looked into that person and apparently they were able to clear them as well. A lot of people, and I don't know if Mikelle's family still thinks it or believes it, or if this thought just has gone away over the years, but there are plenty of people who still think that neighbor, Dee Blaylock, had to have been responsible for whatever happened to Mikelle. But the problem is, especially given that he is now convicted of kidnapping and child molestation, sexual assault, things that would have been exactly what may have happened to Mikelle, but the police just have no evidence to say if he did or not. He had an alibi, not the greatest alibi, but he had one. Blaylock is actually serving a 187-year prison sentence, so the man is never getting out of prison again. And so Mikelle's parents would actually end up going to the prison where Dee Blaylock is, and they just said, we need to ask you point blank, did you kidnap our daughter? Did you kill our daughter? Did you have anything to do with it? And he denied having any responsibility of whatever happened to Mikelle. Whether or not that's true, it's kind of up in the air. Who knows? There is also basically this kind of speculation that And this neighborhood in Mesa, Arizona was a very quiet neighborhood. No crime wasn't really happening in this neighborhood. Everyone kind of knew each other. And there's this sort of theory that this may have been, someone may have seen something or witnessed something, but they didn't really realize it because everyone knew each other. And everyone thought that if you saw someone talking to someone, say in a car, they wouldn't think anything of it because everyone in this neighborhood is so friendly and so neighborly. And so people may not have even realized they saw something connected to this because they're thinking, oh, that's just neighbors being neighbors. And it's one of those things where if you don't know ahead of time that you're needing to remember something you saw, then you won't remember it. I've always wondered that too. If I'm, say, driving around, right, and I happen to see maybe a car parked on the side of the road, but at the time, I'm not thinking anything about it. Then, later you find out there's a missing person and they drove this particular car, and my brain wouldn't go back, oh, I think I saw that car, because it wouldn't have been like a memory stored in my... Is this making any sense? You know what I mean? People could have seen something and just, they don't remember that they saw it. So from what I understand, they actually put a couple people under hypnosis in this kind of theory that maybe you did see something but didn't realize you saw something. But ultimately that came out to nothing. They didn't get anything from these people who they put under hypnosis. But honestly, that may be kind of the route they have to go, right? To help jog memory, to find out if anyone saw anything. It is widely believed that Mikelle Biggs was kidnapped that January 2nd, 1999 day. Someone stole her off of her bike, literally as she was riding it, took her, did something to her, and probably killed her that day. Maybe they kidnapped her and held her captive for a couple of days and then killed her. But it is pretty much believed that Mikelle is no longer alive, that she was likely killed that day or a day surrounding it. Fortunately, with no witnesses, with no DNA, with nothing, this is one of those cases where you can't really feel a lot of confidence that it'll ever be solved, because it's not from a lack of them trying to solve it, from what I understand. It's just a lack of having things to go on. It's unbelievable that a person was able to do this in this residential neighborhood and nobody saw or heard anything. It makes me kind of think that it was someone in the neighborhood. Maybe this person tried to talk to Mikelle, and Mikelle maybe was trusting at first because maybe she knew them. But then maybe she didn't want to get into the car, and so they just took her. Kimber, her sister, has grown up, and she has now dedicated a large portion of her life to keeping her sister's memory and her case alive. She is fighting for justice for Mikelle, still fighting to find her, and every day this is all about trying to bring Mikelle home. She's also now an advocate for other missing persons and missing children and cases similar to this. There was an interview I saw where she basically kind of almost thought it was her fault that this happened. That because she went into the house to get a coat because she was cold and Mikelle was stolen in that 90-second time frame, she blames herself, but she was only 7 or 8 years old. If she was out there, she may have been taken too. I hope she realizes that this is not at all her fault. She is not responsible for what happened. She could not have known what have happened. And the person to blame is the person who took her. That's the monster. That's the only one who should feel that they need to be blamed for this, because they are the ones responsible for it. Not her sister, not her other siblings, not her family. The kidnapper is. But unfortunately, there is no resolution to this story. Mikelle Biggs has never been found. Her kidnapper has never been found. And this has just remained a mystery. But somebody, somewhere out there, has got to know the truth. Perhaps that someone is you. If you have any information about the disappearance and possible murder of 11-year-old Mikelle Biggs from Mesa, Arizona, please call the Mesa Police at 480-644-2211. Mikelle, her siblings, her parents, they all deserve to lay her to rest properly. About 5 or 6 years after her disappearance, they would end up getting a coffin to bury. It was an empty coffin, but they buried it because they knew, right? They know that Mikelle is likely no longer on this earth alive, and they had to bury an empty coffin. And they deserve to lay Mikelle to rest properly with her remains. So please, if you know anything, please help this family and please help Mikelle get the justice she rightfully deserves. But that is it for this case. True crime, Maroony Dooney Dingleberry Dongs. I hope you found it insightful and interesting, and hopefully one day this family gets the answers. As usual, please subscribe, give the video a like so more people can see it, and follow me over on TikTok. Join my Discord server. Check out the merch if you want. What is that? I don't know what that was. That was weird. So, as usual, like I always say, goodbye.
Hiya, true crimerers. Do you want to come and play in the sewer with me? I promise I won't leave any DNA. Dino DNA. A baby dinosaur.
What am I doing? What are we doing? What is this?
I don't know.
I'm just a DNA strand. I don't know shit about nothing. I'm from dinosaurs. From mosquitoes in the embers. The amber, You're creepy, man. You're...
Hiya, DNA. Do you want to be my husband?
What? I'm sorry. I don't know what I'm doing.
Okay.